I remember being 11 years old and walking into my school cafeteria for a morning assembly. And that morning, the guest was a musician, and he played almost every instrument. He played the saxophone, he played the trumpets, he played the guitar, harmonica, he played all kinds of percussion instruments. Even at one point, he played a straw. He bit the end of the straw, put it in his mouth, and was blowing, and then he took the scissors and was cutting it, made all kinds of crazy noises. It was awesome. So that day, I went home after school really excited about music. And I went home to my mom and I said, "Mom, I want to play the trumpet." And she was like, "The trumpet? The trumpet only has 3 notes. Why do you want to play the trumpet?" My mother's a great fan of music, I should say, and she really took it upon herself to make sure I was exposed to a lot of different kind of music. But she's not a musician. She didn't realize that even though the trumpet had 3 buttons, it actually has lots of notes. And it's actually pretty difficult to play. But at any rate, she said, you should challenge yourself, try something different. And she said that my grandfather, who I never knew, played the saxophone. He was an amateur saxophonist. So I said, okay, I'll give the saxophone a try. So I went back to school the next day, and that day we had music class. And I went in the music room, and in the music room in the corner, there was a music closet with all kinds of instruments. So all the students were running to the closet to pick out their instrument. And everyone was grabbing all kinds of stuff, a few saxophones, and I went in and I grabbed what was left, a tenor saxophone. My name is Wayne Escoffery. I'm a jazz saxophonist living here in New York City. And I was born in London, England, and when I was about 7, my mother and I moved to the US. We actually started in Canada, then we went to Florida and Atlanta, Georgia, and we finally established ourselves in New Haven, Connecticut. And in the adjacent town to New Haven, Hamden, is where I was introduced to music and the saxophone. And my horn and I have not been separated since. My love for music and the saxophone continues to grow. And in high school, I went to the Educational Center for the Arts, which was a public arts program. And that's where I was introduced to jazz. At that same time, I was also attending a private music school called the Neighborhood Music School. And I took private saxophone lessons there. And my mother worked very hard to pay for that school. I went on to get my undergraduate and graduate degrees in music. And in 1999, I moved here to New York City and have been a professional musician ever since. I must say that I feel blessed every day to be able to play with the greatest jazz musicians in the world. I travel all over the world performing this American art form for all kinds of audiences. I've been everywhere you can imagine. all over Europe, South America, Asia, Africa. Even most recently, I was in the Ukraine, all playing jazz. And I must say that none of this would be possible if it wasn't for that one straw-playing guy that came to my elementary school. And I wouldn't know what jazz was if it wasn't for those wonderful programs that I attended in high school. Nowadays, students don't have as many opportunities to be introduced to music and jazz the way that I was. Sure, if they live in more affluent neighborhoods, their school might have a music program, might even have a little jazz ensemble. But generally, our public schools don't have a consistent way for students to learn about music and to learn about jazz. American students don't know that jazz is an American art form born out of the Black American experience. They don't know that it started developing in the 1800s during slavery. It developed into ragtime and the blues and kept evolving during World War I, during the Depression, World War II, the Civil Rights era, and the music is continuing to evolve to this day. They don't know that not only has jazz inspired all of popular music and all of modern music, it's really the foundation of all of modern music, including R&B, rock and roll, country music, hip hop. This is important to me. It's important because without an understanding of what the music is, without an awareness, and without a sense of pride and ownership of the music that is an American art form, that's a Black American art form, the popularity of the music is going to continue to suffer in this country. The longevity of the music is at risk. And support of the music and its artists is going to continue to diminish. I don't know if most people know this, but in order for a jazz musician to make a decent living here in the United States, we have to be touring overseas a lot of the time. I mean, it's to the point that people that are close to me, my family and friends, know that if I'm home for several months at a time, I kind of seem a little grumpy, I'm a little rough around the edges, and they know it's because my bank account is showing that I haven't been traveling overseas in quite some time. So, selfishly, that's something that I'd like to change. I'd like to be able to travel in this country and perform for American audiences just as much as I travel overseas. I'd also like to change the demographic of the audience. I'd love for there to be more young faces in the audience. I'd love for there to be more young Black faces in the audience. They're because they're aware of what the music is. They're because they're prideful of what they're listening to and realizing that it's part of their culture. So what can we do to change this? What can you do? Well, first, you can just go to a jazz concert. Go to a jazz club. You can support funding for music in schools. If you know of an organization that is dedicated to providing music or jazz education in schools, support that organization. If you're in the position to fund any of these organizations, do so. And maybe most importantly, if you have young people in your lives, introduce them to the music. Bring them to a jazz concert. Play jazz on your stereo. Just talk to them about it. Let them know what it is and let them be prideful of the fact that this is an African American art form that's a part of their culture, it's part of everyone's culture. I myself am dedicated to fostering appreciation and a knowledge and a pride of this music with our young people by doing a lot of master classes and workshops at all kinds of schools, elementary schools, middle schools, universities. I recently came back from a tour and we went to Kansas and Missouri with a wonderful organization called Jazz Reach. And Jazz Reach does just that. We present a variety of jazz programming to young audiences in this country. And I continue to work with them and anyone else who will work with me or, like I said, by myself and spread this wonderful music to our young people. I would love for our young minds to be aware of and be proud of people like Duke Ellington, Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, Sonny Rollins, in addition to being aware and proud of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Adam Clayton Powell and so many of our other inspirational and important Black American icons. So, you know, one of the many things that I've learned in traveling all over the world and sharing this wonderful music with so many people, a variety of people, is that you don't have to sell jazz. The music speaks for itself. So I'm going to continue to do what I do best.